The Valorian Empire's diplomatic cruiser dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of purple light. The massive ship, called the Eternal Dominion, was the size of a small city. Its dark metal hull was covered in symbols of conquest. Skulls from 100 different species decorated its walls. This was intentional. The ship was designed to make other species afraid. Ambassador Krelthax stood in the main chamber preparing himself. He was 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales with eyes like burning coals. He wore ceremonial ribbons across his chest. Each ribbon represented a species that had surrendered to the Empire. He had 47 ribbons. He was very proud of this number. "Are the humans ready?" he asked his assistant. "Yes, Ambassador. They are waiting in Docking Bay 7. Krelthax nodded. He had done this 847 times before. Well, his people had. The Valorian Empire had been conquering species for 12,000 years. They had a system. It always worked. First, they arrived in an impressive ship. Second, they gave an intimidating speech. Third, the other species surrendered. Simple. He walked to the docking bay with his guards. They were also tall and covered in scales. They carried weapons that glowed with red energy. Everything about them screamed danger. Everything about them said, "Be afraid." The docking bay doors opened. Krelthax stepped forward, ready to meet the primitive humans. He had read the reports. Humans were young, only 300 years in space. They controlled only 47 systems. This would be easy, but something was wrong. The humans were not cowering. They were not trembling. They were standing casually near their small shuttle, drinking from strange containers. They wore simple blue jumpsuits. No armor, no weapons, no formal robes. One of them, a female with dark hair tied back, waved at him. "Hi there. You must be the Valorians. Come on in." Krelthax was confused but continued. He drew himself up to his full height. He spread his arms wide, making himself look as large as possible. His guards moved into formation behind him. The lights dimmed automatically, making him look more dramatic. "I am Ambassador Krelthax of the Valorian Empire," he began, his voice deep and booming. "We are the conquerors of galaxies. We are the masters of 1,000 worlds. We have brought 847 species under our rule. For 12,000 years we have spread across the stars, unstoppable and eternal." He paused for effect. This was usually when species started to panic, but the humans were looking at each other. One of them, a male with gray hair, had his hand over his mouth. His shoulders were shaking. Krelthax continued. "Your species is young, weak. You cannot stand against us. But we are merciful. Surrender now, and you will be allowed to exist as part of our empire. Refuse and you will be destroyed. You have one standard cycle to decide." He finished his speech. He stood tall, waiting for the fear, waiting for the begging, waiting for the inevitable surrender. Instead, the female human made a strange noise, a high-pitched sound. She was trying to hold it in, but failing. Then she started laughing. The gray-haired male joined her, then another human, then all of them. Within seconds, the entire human delegation was laughing. Some were bent over. One was wiping tears from his eyes. Krelthax stood frozen. In 12,000 years of Empire history, this had never happened. "Not once. I'm sorry," the female human said between laughs. "I'm so sorry. But you guys are adorable." "Adorable?" Krelthax repeated. He did not know this word in the context of conquest. "Yeah," another human said, still chuckling. "This whole thing. The skull ship. The dramatic lighting. The 'we are unstoppable' speech. It's like watching kids play pretend." "We thought this was a joke," the gray-haired human added, "like some kind of historical reenactment." "Are you guys from a Renaissance fair?" Krelthax felt something he had never felt before during a first contact. He felt offended. "This is not a joke. We are the Valorian Empire. We have conquered 847 species. Yeah, we heard you the first time," the female human said, trying to compose herself. She took a deep breath. "Look, I'm Captain Sarah Chen. This is my diplomatic team. And I'm trying really hard to be professional here. But you have to understand how this looks to us." "How does it look?" Krelthax asked coldly. "Like a theme park attraction," Sarah said. "I mean the skull decorations. The glowing weapons. The surrender or die ultimatum. We have movies with villains less cliché than this." "We are not cliché," Krelthax roared. "We are feared across the galaxy." This only made the humans laugh harder. Sarah held up her hands. Okay, I'm sorry. You're clearly serious about this. Let me try to understand. You came here to make us surrender? Yes. And you've done this to 847 other species? Correct. And they all surrendered? Eventually, yes. Sarah looked at her team. Then back at Krelthax. Oh boy. You guys have no idea what you've walked into. What do you mean? Krelthax demanded. Sarah took a sip from her container. It smelled like coffee. Tell me something. How many species did you have to actually fight? Like really fight, not just intimidate? Krelthax thought about this. Perhaps 50. Most surrender after seeing our power. And how long did those wars last? The longest was 12 years. Sarah nodded slowly. Okay. And you think this makes you impressive? It makes us the largest empire in known space. Krelthax said. Known space according to who? Sarah asked. You? Have you explored past the Perseus Arm? Sarah interrupted. No, but the Sagittarius Arm? That region is the galactic core? Krelthax stopped. The galactic core is impossible to explore. We have 3 research stations there, Sarah said casually. We've been there for 50 years. Krelthax stared at her. This was impossible. The radiation alone would kill any biological being. Look, Sarah said, her tone becoming more serious. I'm going to give you some advice. And I really, really hope you listen to it. Go home. Forget you ever met us. Tell your empire that humanity is not worth the trouble, please. Is that a threat? Krelthax asked. No, Sarah said quietly. It's a warning. You came here expecting to find prey. Instead, you found something else. Something you're not prepared for. You have 47 systems, Krelthax said. We have thousands. You cannot threaten us. We're not threatening you, the gray-haired human said. He had stopped laughing. He looked almost sad. We're trying to protect you. Protect us? Krelthax could not believe this. You are primitives. You have no military presence. Your fleets are tiny. Yeah, Sarah said. Do you know why our military is so small? Because you are weak. Sarah shook her head. No, because we don't need one. We haven't fought a real war in 200 years. Then you have grown soft, Krelthax said triumphantly. You have forgotten how to fight. The humans looked at each other. Several of them made sad, bitter sounds. That's what we hoped, Sarah said quietly. We really, really hoped we had forgotten. But if you push this, we're going to find out if that's true. And honestly, that terrifies us more than it should terrify you. Krelthax had had enough of this strange conversation. You have 1 cycle to surrender. After that, we will return with our fleet. He turned and walked back toward his ship. His guards followed. Behind him, he heard Sarah say something to her team. Get me a line to Earth. We need to warn them. The Empire doesn't know what it's starting. As the docking bay doors closed, Krelthax looked back one more time. The humans were not laughing anymore. They looked serious now, worried. Good, he thought. Finally they understand, but deep in his mind, a small voice whispered a question he could not answer. Why would they be worried for use? Krelthax stood before the Supremacy Council on the Imperial Throne World. The chamber was enormous, carved from black stone. 12 council members sat on high chairs looking down at him. They were the leaders of the Valorian Empire. They had ruled for thousands of years. Explain yourself, demanded High Chancellor Vormak. He was the oldest, his scales gray with age. You returned without a surrender. This is unprecedented. Krelthax struggled to find the right words. The humans, they laughed at us. Silence filled the chamber. They laughed? Vormak repeated slowly. Yes, High Chancellor. They said we were adorable. They compared us to children playing pretend. They thought our ship was a theme park attraction, one council member hissed. This is an insult to the Empire. I agree, Krelthax said. But there is something else. Something troubling. The female human, Captain Chen, she warned me. She told us to leave and forget we met them. A threat? Another council member asked. No, she said it was protection. For us, not for them. Vormak leaned forward. What do you recommend? Krelthax hesitated. He had never failed before. He had never been laughed at. But something about the humans made him uneasy. I recommend caution. Perhaps we should study them more before taking action. Caution? Vormak's eyes blazed. We show caution to no one. Send the intimidation fleet, we will demonstrate our power. Then they will understand. But High Chancellor, you are dismissed, Ambassador. 3 days later, 200 Valorian warships emerged from hyperspace around Earth. The fleet formed a perfect sphere around the blue planet, Each ship was armed with plasma cannons, missile batteries, and nuclear weapons. Together, they could destroy a planet's surface in hours. Admiral Zektar commanded the fleet from his flagship. He opened a communication channel to Earth. Humans of Earth, his voice boomed across every frequency. This is Admiral Zektar of the Valorian Empire. You are surrounded. You cannot escape. You cannot hide. Surrender now or your planet will burn. You have 1 rotation to comply. He closed the channel and waited. On Earth, in the United Nations headquarters, people watched the broadcast. Then something strange happened. Instead of panic, people started laughing. Not everyone, but many. Within minutes, the broadcast had been recorded and shared across the human networks. Someone added funny music to it. Someone else made the Admiral's voice high and squeaky. By the end of the first hour, there were thousands of versions of the broadcast, each one more ridiculous than the last. News shows picked it up. Late-night comedy hosts dedicated entire segments to it. One human comedian did an impression of Admiral Zektar, making him sound like a dramatic actor in a bad play. The audience loved it. They think they're so scary, the comedian said. 200 ships. That's cute. We have more ships in our delivery fleet. Amazon has more logistics capability than their entire navy. The audience laughed and clapped. Stores started selling merchandise. T-shirts that said, "I survived the Valorian Empire's angry space lizards." Coffee mugs with Admiral Zektar's face and the words, "Surrender or I'll burn your coffee." One human colony. New Austin received the surrender ultimatum. Their official response was, "New phone, who dis?" Admiral Zektar watched all of this with growing confusion. He had expected panic, fear, begging. Instead, the humans were mocking him. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a message from Earth. It's marked as official." Put it through. An old human male appeared on the screen. He wore a military uniform covered in medals. His hair was white, his face lined with age, but his eyes were sharp and cold. "I am General Kowalski, United Nations Defense Force," the human said. "I'm told you're waiting for our surrender." "Yes," Admiral Zektar said, pleased. Finally, someone who understood. "Have you come to accept our terms?" "No," Kowalski said. "I've come to give you a chance to leave." Admiral Zektar laughed. "You have no military presence. We've scanned your system. You have fewer than 100 military vessels. We have 200 in this fleet alone. We have thousands more. What can you possibly do?" "That's exactly the problem," Kowalski said quietly. "You looked at our military and thought we were weak. You're making a terrible mistake." "What mistake?" "You assume we have a small military because we can't build a bigger one," Kowalski said. "That's not why it's small." "Then why?" "Because we don't need a bigger one. We haven't fought a real war in 200 years. Admiral Zektar waved a hand dismissively. "Then you have gone soft. You have forgotten war." Kowalski's expression didn't change. "I wish that were true. I really, really wish that were true." "You cannot frighten me with words, old human." "I'm not trying to frighten you," Kowalski said. "I'm trying to save you. Let me ask you something. Have you looked at our military spending?" "Yes, it is pathetic. Only 0.3% of your total economy." "Right, and do you know what that means?" Admiral Zektar did not answer. He was starting to feel the same unease that Krelthax had felt. "It means 99.7% of our economy is doing something else," Kowalski said. "Building things, making things, creating things. We have manufacturing capability that could bury you in steel and fire. We have shipyards that build cruise ships bigger than your flagship. We have factories on every world. We have resources you can't imagine." "Resources mean nothing without the will to fight," Admiral Zektar said, but his voice was less certain now. "That's the problem," Kowalski said. "We have the will. We've always had the will. We just haven't had anyone to fight." "You lie. You are trying to trick me." Kowalski sighed. "Admiral, how many species have you conquered?" 847. "And how many of them fought back?" "About 50. "And the longest war?" 12 years. Kowalski nodded slowly. "Do you know how long humans fought each other?" "Before we went to space?" "No. 10,000 years, non-stop. We had a war that killed 80 million of our own people in just 6 years. We built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We pointed them at ourselves. We lived under the threat of total extinction for 40 years. And we survived." Admiral Zektar said nothing. He was starting to understand. "We unified our species not through peace," Kowalski continued. We unified through fear. We scared ourselves so badly that we had to stop fighting or die. We chose to stop, but we never forgot how. You are trying to intimidate me. No, Kowalski said. I'm trying to educate you. You came here looking for prey. You found predators playing at civilization. And if you attack us, if you give us a reason to stop playing, you're going to learn something we've tried very hard to forget. And what is that? How good we are at war. Admiral Zektar closed the communication. He sat in silence for several minutes. Then he opened a channel to the throne world. This is Admiral Zektar requesting to speak with the Supremacy Council. When High Chancellor Vormak appeared, Admiral Zektar spoke quickly. High Chancellor, I recommend we withdraw. The humans are not what they appear. I believe attacking them would be a mistake. A mistake? Vormak's voice was ice. You have 200 ships. They have fewer than 100. What could they possibly do? I don't know, Admiral Zektar admitted. But I don't want to find out. Your concern is noted and dismissed, Vormak said. You have your orders. If they do not surrender in one rotation, you will begin bombardment of their military installations. Show them the price of defiance. The channel closed. Admiral Zektar looked at his displays. Earth spun slowly below, blue and green and beautiful. Peaceful. He saw the lights of cities, the trails of ships coming and going. A civilization living its life unconcerned with his fleet. No, he realized. Not unconcerned. They knew he was here. They just weren't afraid. That was what troubled him most. They should be afraid. Every species was afraid when the fleet arrived. Fear was natural. Fear made sense. But the humans weren't afraid. They were laughing. Or worse, they were warning him. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Zektar wondered if maybe he should have listened. Ambassador Krelthax could not sleep. The human encounter troubled him. He kept thinking about Captain Chen's warning, about General Kowalski's cold eyes, about the laughter. He decided he needed to understand. The Empire had a research division. They studied conquered species to understand their weaknesses. Krelthax sent a request to study human history. He wanted to know what made them so confident. The next day, he received a message from Research Director Sithral. Ambassador, please come to the research facility immediately. You need to see this. Krelthax arrived to find Sithral and his team in a state of distress. The director's scales were pale. His hands shook. What did you find? Krelthax asked. Everything, Sithral said. The humans gave us access to their historical databases. They said we should know what we're dealing with. I thought they were bluffing. I thought it would be stories of peace and exploration. He paused. I was wrong. So very wrong. He activated a large display. Numbers appeared, dates, events. Humans have been in space for 300 years. Sithral began. Before that, they were confined to one planet. And on that one planet, they spent 10,000 years killing each other. Most species have conflict, Krelthax said. This is normal. Not like this, Sithral said. Look at the numbers. The display showed casualty figures. 1.2 billion dead over recorded history. Just from humans fighting other humans, Krelthax stared. This cannot be accurate. 1.2 billion? That's more than the total population of most species when we encounter them. It's accurate. We verified it through multiple sources. Sithral changed the display. Let me show you specific examples. An image appeared. A mushroom-shaped cloud rising over a city. This is a nuclear weapon, Sithral explained. Humans invented it 350 years ago. It uses atomic fission to create an explosion. This one bomb destroyed an entire city, killed over 100,000 humans instantly. They used it on themselves? Krelthax whispered. Twice, 2 cities, 2 bombs. Then they built more. Thousands more. At one point, they had enough nuclear weapons to destroy their entire planet 50 times over. But they were still on the planet. Krelthax said, confused. They would die too. Yes, they called it mutually assured destruction. If one side launched their weapons, the other side would launch theirs. Everyone would die. They lived like this for 40 years. Krelthax sat down heavily. What kind of species threatens itself into compliance? That's not even the worst part, Sithral said. He pulled up more data. Let me show you World War II. The display changed. Maps, battles, numbers that made Krelthax feel sick. This was one war, Sithral said. It lasted 6 years. 70 to 85 million dead. That's more casualties in 6 years than our empire has inflicted in the last 50 years of conquest. Another researcher spoke up. She was young, her scales still bright green. They had concentration camps, places where they sent civilians to die. They used poison gas. They burned cities with firebombs. She stopped, unable to continue. Sithral took over. They did things to each other that we cannot imagine doing to our worst enemies. And they did it systematically, efficiently, like it was a job. Show me their weapons development, Krelthax said quietly. The timeline appeared. Stone axes 12,000 years ago. Bronze swords. Iron weapons, gunpowder, rifles, machine guns, tanks, chemical weapons, biological weapons, nuclear weapons, all developed over 12,000 years. For comparison, Sithral said, it took us 40,000 years to develop from basic tools to energy weapons. Humans did it in less than a third of that time, and they were fighting the entire time. War drove their innovation. Krelthax thought about the Valorian Empire's own development. They had advanced slowly, steadily through cooperation and conquest of lesser species. What happened after they got nuclear weapons? They stopped fighting, Sithral said. Not because they wanted to, because they had to. The weapons were too powerful. Any major war would end civilization, so they found other outlets. The display changed to show humans in combat. But they were in arenas. Combat sports, Sithral explained. They fight each other for entertainment, boxing, wrestling, mixed martial arts. They hurt each other but don't kill each other, usually. More images. Humans racing in vehicles, jumping from aircraft, climbing mountains without safety equipment, swimming with predators. They seek danger, the young researcher said. They do these things voluntarily, for fun. Their entertainment is filled with war, Sithral added. He showed Krelthax clips from human movies, explosions, battles, death. This is fiction, but look how detailed it is. Look how much thought they put into depicting warfare. They never forgot, Krelthax said. No, they just redirected it. They channeled their violent instincts into sports, games, stories. They made war obsolete, but they didn't make it forgotten. Another researcher pulled up images of human children. They were playing with toy soldiers, toy guns, video games showing battles. Their young ones play at war, the researcher said. They train them from birth to think about strategy, tactics, conflict. They say it's just play, but look at the detail. Look at the thought that goes into these toys. Krelthax watched a video of human children playing a video game. The game simulated massive battles with thousands of units. The children were giving orders, coordinating attacks, outmaneuvering each other. They were 7 years old. They've been at peace for 200 years, Sithral said. But they never stopped thinking about war. They never stopped preparing. They just didn't have anyone to fight. Show me their current military, Krelthax said. The display changed. This is interesting, Sithral said. Their military is small, very small, only 0.3% of their economy. But look at the training. Videos showed human soldiers training. They moved with precision, speed, efficiency. They practiced with weapons, hand-to-hand combat, tactics. They trained in every environment, underwater, in space, on frozen worlds, on burning worlds. They trained constantly, Sithral said. Even in peace, they trained for war. And look at this. He showed Krelthax human military academies, schools where they taught warfare, history of battles, tactics, strategy. Some of these schools were hundreds of years old. They study war like we study art, the young researcher said. They have thousands of books about it, millions of hours of videos. They analyze every battle they've ever fought. They learn from their mistakes. What mistakes? Krelthax asked. If they won, what mistakes matter? That's the terrifying part, Sithral said. They study their victories to find flaws. They assume their next enemy will be smarter, better. They always prepare for a stronger opponent than they've ever faced. Krelthax stood and walked to the window. Outside, the capital city of the empire spread out before him. Beautiful, peaceful, built over thousands of years of conquest. What is your assessment? He asked quietly. Sithral hesitated. Ambassador, every species we've conquered was peaceful when we found them. They had been at peace for generations. They had forgotten war. They were easy to defeat because they couldn't remember how to fight. And the humans were at peace. But they didn't forget. They've been in peace for 200 years, but they remember 10,000 years of war. It's in their culture, their entertainment, their education, their games. They haven't forgotten anything. So if we attack them, we won't be fighting a peaceful species learning war for the first time, Sithral said. We'll be fighting a species that has war in its blood. A species that has killed more of its own kind than we've killed in our entire history. A species that built planet-destroying weapons while still living on that planet. The young researcher spoke up. Ambassador, I found something else. Something that troubles me greatly. What? Human philosophy. They have many thinkers who wrote about war. One said, humans are not peaceful by nature. Peace is a choice we make every day knowing we could choose otherwise. Another wrote, the most dangerous warrior is not the one who loves battle, but the one who has seen enough battle to hate it, yet still knows how to fight. Krelthax turned from the window. Send all of this to the Supremacy Council. They must see it. I already did, Sithral said. They dismissed it as fear-mongering. High Chancellor Vormak said humans are trying to trick us with false history. It's not false, Krelthax said. I know, but the Council doesn't believe it. They think humans are bluffing. They've sent the Punishment Armada to attack the human colony at New Toronto. Krelthax felt cold. When? They should be arriving now. For a long moment, no one spoke. They all stared at the displays showing human history. The weapons, the battles, the death tolls that made their empire's conquest look small. May the ancestors protect them, Sithral whispered. The humans tried to warn us, and we didn't listen. The Valorian Punishment Armada arrived at New Toronto with 500 warships. Fleet Commander Draxar had orders to make an example. Show the humans the cost of defiance. He expected it to be quick. New Toronto was a small colony world. Population, 3 million. Defenses, minimal. A few orbital platforms. Maybe a dozen patrol ships. This would be over in hours. Begin orbital bombardment, Draxar ordered. Target their military installations first, then infrastructure. The first wave of plasma fire fell from the sky. Military bases exploded. Dams burst. Power plants went dark. The humans sent out a distress signal. It was intercepted and broadcast across the Empire. This is New Toronto. We are under attack. They came without warning. Please send help. Then the signal cut off. Draxar nodded with satisfaction. Send ground troops. Secure the capital city. This planet is now property of the Valorian Empire. On Earth, in the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, the distress signal played. Silence followed. Then General Kowalski spoke, his voice tired and sad. 3 million civilians, he said. They attacked civilians. General, your recommendation? The Secretary General asked. Kowalski looked old, ancient, like he carried a terrible weight. For 200 years, we've kept the war machine locked away. We've tried to be better than what we were. But they attacked our people, they killed our civilians. He paused. I recommend we declare total war. Every person in the room understood what that meant. Total war. The words humans hadn't spoken in 2 centuries. The Secretary General took a deep breath. All in favor? Every hand rose. Then it's decided. General Kowalski, you have full authorization to activate the war protocols. What happened next shocked the Valorian Empire to its core. Across human space, factories changed overnight. Plants that made cars started making tanks. Shipyards that built cruise ships started building warships. Civilian corporations volunteered their resources. Mining companies provided raw materials. Tech companies provided weapons systems. The production numbers were insane. In the first week, humans built 1,000 new warships. In the first month, 10,000. Ships poured out of shipyards like water from a broken dam. Where are they getting the resources? High Chancellor Vormak demanded when he saw the reports. They're using their civilian infrastructure, an analyst explained. They have manufacturing on every world. They're not building a military from nothing. They're converting what they already have. How fast can they do this? Sir, they've already built more ships than we have in our entire fleet, and they're not stopping. But the ships were just the beginning. The real shock came when the fleets met in battle. The Valorian Empire fought honorably. They had rules of warfare refined over thousands of years. Formal challenges, structured battles, fair tactics. War was an art form to them. Humans didn't fight honorably. Humans fought to win. At the Battle of Arcturus Station, Fleet Commander Draxar led his forces in a traditional wedge formation. He sent a formal challenge to the human fleet. He expected them to accept, to meet him in open battle. Instead, the human fleet split apart. Half jumped to hyperspace. The other half retreated. Draxar thought they were running. Then the first half appeared behind him. They had jumped around his fleet. Now he was surrounded. The humans didn't announce their attack. They didn't give warnings. They just opened fire from all directions at once. Plasma cannons, railguns, missile swarms, everything at once. Draxar's flagship took 17 direct hits in the first 30 seconds. His shields collapsed. His engines failed. His communication array went dark. The battle lasted 4 hours. The Empire sent their elite soldiers, the Deathless Legion. They had never lost a battle in 3,000 years. They were the best warriors the Empire had ever produced. The humans sent Marines who were angry about having their shore leave canceled. The Marines didn't fight with honor. They fought dirty, ambushes, traps, false retreats that led Valorian soldiers into kill zones. They used the environment as a weapon. They used psychology as a weapon. They made the Deathless Legion afraid. By the end, the Legion was destroyed. Of the 5,000 elite soldiers, 300 surrendered. The rest were dead or missing. The surviving Valorian commander was brought before a human Marine captain. The Valorian was shaking, his scales pale with shock. "What are you?" he whispered. The Marine captain, a woman named Rodriguez with scars on her face, lit a cigarette. "We're humans, and you interrupted our vacation." News of the defeat spread through the Empire. Panic followed. The Deathless Legion, destroyed in 4 hours, impossible. It had to be a lie, but more defeats followed. The humans didn't just win battles, they dominated them. They moved faster, thought faster, adapted faster. Every time the Empire tried a new tactic, the humans countered it within days. The Empire's military strategists couldn't understand it. How were the humans learning so quickly? The answer was simple. They had already learned. Every battle humans fought, they recorded, studied, analyzed. They had databases of 10,000 years of warfare. They knew every trick, every strategy, every counter-strategy. When the Empire tried flanking maneuvers, humans recognized it. They had invented flanking maneuvers 3,000 years ago. When the Empire tried psychological warfare, humans laughed. They had written the book on psychological warfare. When the Empire tried to cut supply lines, humans showed them supply chains that could feed armies across light years. The Empire's soldiers started developing something they had never experienced before. Something they didn't have a word for. Human doctors who treated Valorian prisoners identified it. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Valorian soldiers couldn't sleep. They jumped at shadows. They refused to go back into battle. The mighty warriors of the Empire were breaking down mentally. "They don't fight like soldiers," one traumatized Valorian told his therapist. "They fight like demons. They're everywhere at once. They never stop. They never rest. And they do things no honorable warrior would do." "What things?" "They use deception. They pretend to retreat, then ambush you. They fake surrender, then attack. They send communications that seem friendly. Then it's a virus that shuts down your ship. They weaponize everything. Sound, light, information, fear. Everything is a weapon to them." 6 months into the war, the map changed dramatically. Human forces had pushed deep into Empire territory. They had liberated conquered species. They had destroyed or captured hundreds of Valorian worlds. The Supremacy Council met in emergency session. The chamber that once echoed with confident voices was now filled with fear. "How is this possible?" one council member demanded. "They were primitives. They had 47 systems. They have over 300 systems now," an intelligence officer reported. "They're taking our worlds faster than we can count them. And every species they liberate joins them. They're turning our conquered peoples against us." High Chancellor Vormak looked at the battle reports. Everyone was a defeat. Every single one. "Where is Fleet Commander Draxar?" "Dead, sir. His fleet was destroyed at Arcturus Station." "Admiral Zektar?" "Surrendered. His fleet was surrounded. He had no choice. The Deathless Legion? Silence. Vormak slumped in his chair. What do we do? Ambassador Krelthak stepped forward. He had been silent until now. I told you, High Chancellor, I warned you. The humans tried to warn us, but no one listened. What are they? Vormak asked weakly. They are what happens when a species survives 10,000 years of war against itself, Krelthak said. They are what happens when predators learn to cooperate. They are what happens when you wake up sleeping monsters and give them a reason to remember what they are. Can we win? Krelthax looked at the council. 12 faces, all showing fear for the first time in their lives. No, he said simply. We never could have. The only question now is whether they'll let us surrender or if they'll do to us what we've done to 847 other species. Outside the council chamber, human fleets were entering the home system. The war was over. The Empire had lost, and it had taken humans only 6 months to destroy what the Valorians had built over 12,000 years. The human fleet surrounded the Valorian throne world like a steel net. 2,000 warships, enough firepower to crack the planet open. The Supremacy Council waited in their chamber, expecting death. Then they received a message. Captain Sarah Chen requests permission to land and negotiate terms. High Chancellor Vormak was confused. Negotiate? They won. Why negotiate? Perhaps they want us to beg, another council member said bitterly. Only one way to find out, Krelthak said. Let them land. Sarah Chen arrived with a small team. No weapons, no guards. She walked into the council chamber wearing the same simple jumpsuit she had worn at their first meeting. She was even carrying the same coffee thermos. She looked around at the 12 council members. Thank you for meeting with me. You're here to accept our surrender, Vormak said. State your terms. Actually, we don't want your surrender, Sarah said. Silence. You don't? Vormak repeated, confused. No. We want to propose something different. Sarah pulled out a data pad. We want to create the Galactic Community Initiative, a federation of equal species. No empires. No conquest. Just cooperation. Why? Krelthax asked. You won. You could do to us what we did to hundreds of species. Why don't you? Sarah sat down uninvited. She took a sip of her coffee. Because ruling an empire sounds exhausting. Also because we're scared. Scared of what? You destroyed our entire military. We're scared of ourselves, Sarah said quietly. Let me explain something. Humans spent 10,000 years fighting each other. We were very, very good at it. Too good. We built weapons that could end our civilization. We came so close to using them. So close to destroying ourselves. She stood and walked to the window. 200 years ago, we decided to stop. We put away the weapons. We focused on art, science, exploration, building things instead of destroying things. We tried to be better than what we were. And, Vormak prompted, Sarah turned back to them. And then you showed up. You gave us an enemy. You gave us a reason to fight. And it was terrifying how fast we remembered. How easily we slipped back into war. How good we still were at it. She pulled up a display. Our casualty numbers. 50,000 dead. That's it. 50,000 in 6 months of total war. And ours? Krelthax asked, though he knew the answer. 2,300,000, Sarah said softly, a ratio of 46 to 1. For every one of our people who died, 46 of yours did. Do you understand what that means? It means you're superior warriors, Vormak said. No, it means we're dangerous. It means we're too good at killing. And if we keep doing it, if we stay at war, we'll remember too much. We'll remember the humans we used to be, the ones who nearly destroyed ourselves. General Kowalski stepped forward. Sarah had brought him along. We showed restraint, he said. We could have glassed your worlds. We could have killed billions. We had the capability, but we held back. And holding back was hard. Every day there were voices saying, finish them. Make sure they never threaten us again. Why didn't you? Krelthax asked. Because that's not who we want to be, Sarah said. We've been trying for 200 years to be something other than killers. If we slaughter you, we become exactly what we were running from. She pulled up a document on the display. This is the Galactic Community Initiative Charter. Every species is equal. Decisions are made by consensus. No one species can dominate the others. In exchange, all species work together on projects too big for any one race. Defense, exploration, science, we share knowledge, resources, technology. And if we refuse? Vormak asked. Then we leave. Sarah said simply. We go back to our space. You go back to yours. We forget this ever happened. You would just leave? After we attacked you? Yes, because the alternative is we stay at war. And if we do that too long, we'll get comfortable with it. We'll remember how good we are at it. And that's dangerous for everyone, including us. Vormak looked at his council members. They looked back at him, uncertain. You're offering us a place as equals? After we tried to conquer you? Yes, Sarah said. Look, we checked your history. You've been conquering species for 12,000 years. That's all you know. But those species you conquered, a lot of them didn't want to fight. They were peaceful. You forced them into your empire. We gave them protection, Vormak said. Order, purpose. You gave them domination, Kowalski said. But that ends now. We've been liberating your conquered worlds. Guess what? Most of them don't want to fight. They just want to live in peace. They'll join the GCI with or without you. Krelthax spoke up. Why would you help us? Why would you defend us if external threats appear? Sarah smiled. Because that's what the initiative is for. We all help each other, and honestly, we need to stay busy. We need projects, goals, things to focus on besides war. You're asking us to give up our empire, Vormak said. We're asking you to join something better, Sarah said. Your empire was built on conquest. It was always going to fall eventually. Someone stronger would come along. Well, we're that someone. But instead of replacing your empire with ours, we're offering you a seat at the table. The council members talked among themselves in their own language. Sarah waited patiently, drinking her coffee. Finally, Vormak spoke. If we agree, what happens to us? To our people? Nothing bad, Sarah said. You keep your worlds, your culture, your identity. You just stop conquering other species. You work with them instead of ruling them. And if we're threatened, the GCI defends all members, which includes a lot of humans who remember how to fight very, very well. Krelthax stood. I support this proposal. We were wrong about the humans. Wrong about a lot of things. This is a chance to be better. One by one, the council members agreed. Finally, Vormak stood. Very well. The Valorian Empire accepts your proposal. We will join the Galactic Community Initiative. Sarah smiled and extended her hand. Vormak looked at it confused. Sarah explained, it's a human gesture. We shake hands to seal agreements. Vormak took her hand. His clawed hand was huge compared to hers, but Sarah's grip was firm. Welcome to the community, she said. 10 years later, Ambassador Krelthax walked through the GCI Central Station. It was a massive structure, built by 20 different species working together. The architecture was a blend of styles. Valorian arches mixed with human geometry, Trellin spirals, Corthan crystals. He was on his way to a meeting. A new species had been discovered. They were aggressive, making threats, claiming they were the greatest military power in the galaxy. Sarah Chen was already in the conference room when he arrived. She was older now with gray in her hair, but her eyes still sparkled with that same humor. Ready for this? She asked. Ready as I'll ever be, Krelthax said. Do you think they'll listen? Probably not at first. They never do. The new species, the Krathor Alliance, appeared on the view screen. They were insectoid, with sharp mandibles and aggressive postures. Their leader spoke in a harsh, clicking language. We are the Krathor Alliance. We have conquered 40 systems. We demand you acknowledge our superiority or face destruction. Krelthax and Sarah looked at each other. Sarah bit her lip. Krelthax felt his mouth twitch. They both started laughing. The Krathor leader's antennae quivered with rage. You dare laugh at us? We have conquered 40 systems. I'm sorry, Sarah said, gasping with laughter. I'm so sorry. It's just, you remind us of someone we used to know. Krelthax composed himself. Yes, 40 systems is very impressive. For a young species. Young, we are ancient. We have over 800 member species in the GCI, Sarah interrupted gently. We control thousands of systems. We've built megastructures around stars. We're currently constructing a ring world, and we've been at peace for 10 years. The Krathor leader clicked its mandibles nervously. Peace, that means you're weak. No, Krelthax said, his voice serious now. It means we're strong enough that we don't need to prove it. Sarah leaned forward. Let me tell you a story. 10 years ago, I met the Valorian Empire. They had conquered 847 species. They thought they were unstoppable. I laughed at them too. What happened to them? The Krathor asked. I'm right here, Krelthak said, waving. We learned a valuable lesson. About humans. About ourselves. About what real strength means. What lesson? Sarah and Krelthax exchanged glances. Sarah spoke. The most dangerous species isn't the one that loves war. It's the one that's too good at it to safely indulge anymore. And the smartest species is the one that learns that lesson without having to experience it firsthand. Are you threatening us? The Krathor demanded. No, Krelthax said. We're warning you. We're offering you the same choice we were offered. Join the community. Work with us. Or go home and pretend this conversation never happened. And if we attack, Sarah's smile faded. Then you'll learn what the Valorian Empire learned. But I really, really hope you don't make us show you. Because we've been at peace for 10 years now. We're finally comfortable with it. We'd like to stay that way. The Krathor leader looked at them both, at Sarah's tired eyes, at Krelthax's serious expression. Something in their faces made him pause. We will consider your offer, he said slowly. Smart choice, Sarah said. The screen went dark. Krelthax turned to Sarah. Do you think they'll join? Eventually. They all do. Once they check our history, and if they don't,